No, you don't! No, I do! I've been through your
NetherRealm games are typically one-on-one, but with that said, there are some characters that break that rule completely. You could even argue Sub-Zero was the first to do this. His ice clone might not move, but trust me, it's a force to be reckoned with. So today, let's talk about the greatest assist attack that NetherRealm has ever made. Aw, he's so adorable. Now before we can talk about Dex-Starr, we have to talk about Atrocitus himself. That way you can appreciate how much stronger they are together. So by himself, Atrocitus is your basic rushdown 50-50 character. For starters, he has this string, Blood Ritual. This is easily one of his best strings, and you see it all the time at tournaments for this very reason. Now what makes this string so great is the mix-up factor. That last input actually hits twice for a double overhead. But then you have his Blood NATO, which hits low and can be meter burn to extend combos, so already we have a 50-50. Instead of going for the overheads, Atrocitus could just go for the first two mids and then go for a low. So it's either mid-mid overhead, or it's mid-mid low, and the low leads to a full combo. However, even if you block that, you're still not done guessing because you have to block the final overhead as well, which you can also replace with a low. So if you're trying to block, it's either mid-mid overhead overhead, or it's mid-mid overhead low, and once again the low extends combos. Or in other words, you had to guess correctly twice in a row. And then if you failed to guess correctly, Atrocitus would hit you for a decent amount of damage. Even a basic combo almost did 400 damage, and look at that, we're already in the corner, which just means more pressure, more mix-ups, more 50-50s. However, thankfully, if you did guess correctly against Atrocitus, both the overhead string and the Blood NATO are completely punishable on block, so if you guess correctly, you get a full combo on him. So in that one regard, Atrocitus is actually kinda fair. However, Atrocitus did have a safe option with his Napalm Vomit. This would keep him safe, so he could do just two mids, then the vomit, or he could do the first overhead and then the vomit, and he was still completely safe. And even though he didn't get a full combo with the Napalm Vomit, he is +6, which means he can pretty much go for it again unless you want to do an invincible move. And on top of that, the vomit also does damage over time. And that's pretty much what Atrocitus did by himself. He could also do the punch walk in the air, which was pretty cool. If he spent the bar, he got damage over time. And then he also had certain strings that could restand you to make sure you didn't have any wake ups, all that good stuff. But for the most part, he was your basic rushdown 50-50 character. So overall, he's a fairly decent character. I would say he's solid mid-tier, but then once he summoned his buddy Dex-Starr, he easily became top 5. And setting up Dex-Starr wasn't even that difficult. He could do a basic combo, bounce you off the wall, uppercut, Blood NATO again, uppercut, and then summon the kitty cat. And once Dex-Starr was on screen, you knew you were in for it, because this cool cat has a lot of awesome abilities. So for starters, Dex-Starr has a projectile, and it does travel a bit slow, but that just makes it great for locking you down as Atrocitus makes his way in and forces you to deal some more 50-50s. And then, as you just saw, you can also use this projectile to keep yourself safe after your mix-ups. And not just on the overhead, this also works on the Blood NATO as well. It's a bit tougher to time correctly, but if the opponent goes for anything, they're gonna get interrupted. So even though they may still hit you, they're not gonna get a combo started. Or in other words, Atrocitus no longer has to worry about guessing. It's all up to you now, because if the Blood NATO lands, he can meter burn for a full combo, but if it's blocked, Dex-Starr keeps him safe. And the same is also true for the double overhead. If he guesses correctly, he gets the knockdown. If he guesses wrong, the projectile keeps him safe. And to make things even crazier, this projectile also allowed Atrocitus to interrupt gaps in your strings or special moves without having to let go of block. Because even though he couldn't use the projectile while blocking, he could use it whenever there was a gap. So for example, right now I'm playing Green Lantern and he has this overhead string, and there is actually a gap before that second hit. And if I match the projectile, I'll get it and I'm still completely safe. There's no actual animation for Atrocitus, so he can just do the projectile while still blocking. And then Green Lantern also had this string as well, which hits low and then mid, and it has no gap. So in theory, if you try to punish him, you're gonna get launched for a full combo. However, this is not the case with Dex-Starr. Once again, I can mash circle the entire time and I was never opened up by a counter hit. Put simply, you can mash circle on block, and if there's a gap, a projectile will come out to interrupt the opponent. But if there's not a gap, you can just keep on blocking like normal. And then just to make things even crazier, this projectile also allowed Atrocitus to combo off of his sweep, which is super rare in this game. Pretty much no character can do that. And while the damage he got wasn't that crazy, it's just one more thing to look out for. You already have the low overhead mix-ups, and now you have a straight up low to look out for as well. And then finally, this projectile was good for one more thing. It actually allowed you to add a bit more damage to whatever combo you were doing. So right there, that combo does 183, almost 184, but this time I'm gonna go ahead and have Dex-Starr fire projectiles the whole time. And now instead, the combo's doing doing around 219. Or to make things even better, you can use Dex-Starr to extend your combos without having to spend any bar, it just keeps on going. So that was over 300 damage and it didn't cost us any bar, and we have the corner advantage. Yeah, this cat is pretty crazy. And that's just one of the many things that Dex-Starr can do. So next up, he had a shield. If you pressed forward and the trait button, you are now immune to most projectiles in the game, and you can still completely move as you wish. You can jump, you can crouch, any number of things. And in fact, you can even summon the shield and fire your own projectiles while being completely immune to projectiles yourself. And this shield was actually a big deal for Atrocitus because his Blood NATO was kind of okay for countering keep away, but it only worked if you interrupted the opponent before the projectile came out. If their projectile was already out, then you would just trade, which isn't ideal. However, once Dex-Starr has the shield, you can now do the Blood NATO and you'll no longer trade with the opponent's projectile. And keep in mind, Atrocitus can actually do 2 Blood NATOs just to get you close enough. So if he had Dex-Starr's shield out, this meant he was even dangerous from full screen. And despite being a shield, this move actually can hit the opponent, and according to the game, it is plus 54 on hit. Or in other words, if you land this move in the corner, the opponent now has to deal with your pressure because there's no way they're interrupting it. And then perhaps one of the craziest things Atrocitus could do before the nerf is he could actually use this shield to combo after his forward throw in the corner. Now sadly, it's no longer possible. However, here's an example of what that combo looked like back in the day.
He also gets a combo off of grab in the corner if you have Dex-Starr out. You do something like that right there.
Even though the damage wasn't that good, in hindsight it probably was fair to take away this option because Atrocitus already had absurd corner pressure with Dex-Starr. And then last but not least, one more thing Dex-Starr could do for a base character power is he could pounce on the opponent. Now it hit mid, but it ends in Napalm Vomit, which does damage over time. And then on top of that, it also restands the opponent, which means they have no more wake up options. So in the corner especially, this was a great way to end combos because your opponent no longer had access to an invincible wake up option. And then last but not least, Dex-Starr also gave you access to unique attack strings. So this one, normally that follow-up doesn't exist, and now it's just a free combo extender. So if you land this move as a whiff punish, you now just get to have a follow-up for free. So that's pretty cool. And then you have Burn All. This also knocks the opponent up. Now in the corner is probably the best place for that to be, but I can probably get a Blood NATO there. Yes, I can. And then I can keep the combo going from there. And then finally we have Massacre, and this one ends in a sneaky low. Now to my knowledge, I don't have any overhead hitting special moves, but even so, if you're not expecting that third hit, it's always an option. In fact, in the corner, I think this might actually extend combos. Yes, it does. So look at that. You now have a low combo starter in the corner with Dex-Starr. So if you're the opponent and you don't know what Atrocitus can do, that's a very sneaky low. As you can see, Dex-Starr is just crazy. I was not exaggerating when I told you he was the best assist that NetherRealm has ever made. Once again, this character made Atrocitus go from mid-tier to top 5 immediately. And that was especially true before all of the nerfs. But honestly, even after all of the updates, this character is still ridiculous when he has his assist. He's safe on all of his mix-ups, he gets meterless combo extenders, he has a shield that makes him immune to projectiles and is super good on hit, he has a flying tackle attack which can restand the opponent and does damage over time, and on top of all of that, he also gets access to unique attack strings. This assist is nothing short of godlike. And honestly, it's stuff like this that makes me love Injustice so much. NetherRealm always does get creative in this series, and Dex-Starr is just one more example of something great they created. He is beyond the shadow of a doubt the best assist that NetherRealm has ever made, but please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. How do you feel about Dex-Starr, and what do you think is the best assist in NetherRealm history? Please let me know in the comments, and then while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by suplexing that subscribe button? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.